Hello, and welcome to the first episode of a Long Walk podcast. I hope you had a great holiday season and New Year's and are ready to jump into 2026 and get some things done. I thought it would be good this first episode, since it is going to be released on January 1st, to go over some of the artistic and creative goals that I've set for myself for the year. I spent the last week or so just kind of thinking about 2025 and how it went overall. Some of the things that I felt like were good, that went well, and some of the things that I wanted to change and make adjustments to for the new year. So that's kind of what we're going to be going over today. First, I'd like to just recap briefly on 2025, since that was one of the things that I did this last week, and kind of talk about how I felt like the year went. So let's do that. So the only real goal that I had in 2025 was to release 4 songs, 4 singles spaced throughout the year, and that was it. And I did do that. I released the first song in March, I think, and then every 2 months until November, I think, was the last one. So I got that goal done. I'm proud of that. Honestly, I feel like one of the things that you have to do in order to improve is just do things, just be consistent. I've found that with myself so much that if I actually want to get better at something, if I actually want to improve, I need to just do the thing that I want to do. So if I want to get better at writing songs and producing songs, I need to make more songs. And if you don't release those songs, then that doesn't count. That was my main goal, was just consistently to release music in 2025, and I feel like I accomplished that well. I learned a ton this year just about how to produce songs, writing lyrics, production, working on things like album artwork and stuff like that. I just learned a lot doing the 4 songs that I did. One of the other things that I thought about a lot this year and experimented with in 2025 was the direction I wanted to take the Eleanor when it comes to promotion and longevity, I guess. Nah, that's stupid. Promotion is probably the right word. There's so many ways that you can promote a creative project, so many different routes and avenues you can go down. And for me, I experimented a ton with a lot of different versions of those routes and avenues and failed on a lot of them because I found out fairly quickly that some of them were not for me. Actually, most of them were not for me. And so I think the overall takeaway this year was that I am not a hustler in the way that a lot of music promotion people will tell you need to be. I am much more of a slow burner. And I have made the necessary adjustments going into 2026 so I don't burn myself out, because there was a lot of burnout this year, a lot of experimenting with things that I do not like or I'm not good at, and they just were not fun to do in any sense of the word. And so that was kind of the 2 big things that I did this year, I felt like. I feel like it was a successful year. The other big thing that I did, actually, before I move on to 2026, the other thing that I did that I felt like was really beneficial this year is go over all of the branding and overall vibe of what the Eleanor is. I think in the past I was so kind of wishy-washy and a little bit more blurred on the brand of what the Eleanor is. And one of the other things I did this year, early on in the year, was spend a lot of time on branding, like several weeks, maybe even several months, really thinking about what this brand actually is, what I want it to say, and that type of thing. So I felt like that was also extremely helpful and helped me decide on the direction for 2026, with taking things a little bit slower, not trying to hustle my way into a music career, but try to just do things in a more methodical, thoughtful way. So that was my 2025. I felt like it was good. With those 3 things, I thought it was good. Okay, I think that was concise and a good review of 2025. So let's move on to 2026. So I mainly just have two big goals for 2026 with a couple things to think about in each goal. The first one is related to podcasts. I mentioned when I was talking about 2025, this idea of me not being a hustler, but being more of a slow burner type person. And one of the things I realized is that the social media hustle culture is definitely not for me because I just don't like it. I don't like social media in general. I don't like doing my own social media. I don't like spending time on social media. And so I needed a different way to market myself, a different way to share what's going on with the Eleanor. And I thought that a podcast would be a great way to do that. So that's obviously why you're listening to this. And so the main goal for this year, for 2026 with the podcast, is simply just to release at least 3 episodes every single month. Now, I chose 3 because I wanted to give myself just a little bit of wiggle room, but basically the cadence of this show is going to be weekly. And that's all I want to do. That's the only thing that I want to do, is just to release 3 episodes a month, at least. And the vision kind of behind this goal is simply that I need consistency. And so if I want to be better at podcasting, if I want to improve and grow this and share more, then I need to just do it. I can't focus so much on every episode and every single aspect of everything. And I do tend to do that. So that's why this is part of this goal. But it's all about consistency. And so I wanted to just have a goal that was simple and just said, you're going to release episodes on this cadence. And that is basically it, honestly. That's just the goal. So the other goal that I have is related more towards the music side of things with the Eleanor. And it's basically the same exact goal as last year. I just want to release 5 songs this year instead of 4. Now, I think the reason for this is the same as the podcast one. I just want consistency. And it's also the same reason I had the goal last year. I just think putting out music is the best way to get better at the craft that I am doing. I learned so much this last year just by releasing songs, making them making songs and releasing songs are 2 very different things. And so I think the process of knowing that this was going to be heard by people, that it was going to need artwork and marketing and all of these different things, it makes you think, at least it made me think about how I made the songs differently. I just changed the way that I made things because of that. And so, again, I just wanted to focus on this consistency. There is one other change I wanted to make this year in regards to music, and that is that I want to experiment a little bit more with music and spend more time in the creation phase. I think last year, because I was so focused on marketing and how I was going to hustle my way into a music career, I made choices in the music and in the artwork and everything that were not artistically driven, but were marketing driven. I think so many times, if you have the marketing mindset, I found this in myself so much last year, that I would be making decisions based on the marketing. You'd be like, is this intro too long? Is this intro too long? If this is in a reel, are people going to scroll past before the quote unquote good part gets in? Is this a good enough melody that's going to hook people when they're scrolling through TikTok? I made all of these decisions based on how marketable, how palatable the songs were. And I think that was probably the wrong choice. I don't hate any of the songs that I did, but I think if I were to remake all of the songs that I did last year, I would make them in a slightly different way. And honestly, I think that's just kind of how making things work. You always make things imperfectly, and then you look back and be like, oh, I would have changed this or this, but that's just kind of how making things goes. So that is just one of the big focuses that I want to do with this year of releasing music, is just to spend a little bit more time in thinking of the music in the creative space and not so much the marketing space. Asking, is this cool? Is this good music? Is this what I actually want to make? Is this expressing the thing that I want to express? Instead of, is this going to work for a 30-second TikTok or a 15-second TikTok or whatever? So I think that will be good overall. Hopefully it'll also let me break out of some ruts that I've gotten into this year of how I make drums or how I use synthesizers or how I do X, Y, or Z. You kind of get into a state of kind of just a rut on this is just how I do things. And so hopefully with more experimenting, I will start to find more interesting or alternative ways to make things, do things in my production. So yeah, that honestly is it. Those are the only 2 goals that I have this year for my artistic endeavors. If you would like to get in touch, honestly, I would love to hear about one of your goals or the things that you plan on working on this year. If you would like to get in touch and share that with me, you can message me. There is a link in the show notes to a page that will allow you to send me a message, or you can also send me a voicemail, a little audio voicemail talking about the thing that you are working on this year. I think they can only be 90 seconds long, so keep that in mind. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe. Please share it with someone else if you think that they would find this show interesting. And thank you for listening.